we are going to now dive into favorites. So what favorites basically are, if you use ArchiCAD and you have select a design tool or any tool for that matter, whether design tool or a viewpoint or a document tool, you'll find that you'll have, if you click on this button, on this drop down, you find that it gives you a sort of a palette or a dialogue telling you that these are the favorites that you have. So there is a generic exterior, generic interior, structural wall, partition wall. So these are the ones that ship with ArchiCAD. But say I want to create a new favorite, how would I do that? One way to do that would be, let's say most of the time, if I'm using Kenyan standards, or let's say East Africa standards, I know that my wall is masonry block, so that's the material, masonry block, where I'm going to show you how to set materials and to edit them in our class tomorrow. So dimension is, wall thickness is 200. If it's the height, I like to keep this height using the top offset. So if it's top offset, I know that my slab is going to be 150. If I'm working with a residential house, my beam is probably going to be 450. So I want it to be, let's say, minus 600 from the top floor, top link. So I'm going to keep that as negative 600. And let's decide I want now to save this favorite. So I'm going to click this button here, favorites, and now I have a new kind of wall, a new one that I want to define. So if I want to store it, I'll come here and say new favorite. And what name am I giving it? So I can give it just the name of this material here. So let's call it masonry block wall. And to further define it more, so let me assign it the dimension of the thickness. So masonry block wall 200, and instantly it's been added there. So these favorites you can create for walls, you can create for any sort of material. So once I've created my favorite, I can just exit my wall default settings, and if I now click on this drop down here, now I have new favorites. How else can I edit my favorites? Now I can edit additional settings. I can choose to have previews, I can choose to use a list, or let's say I have multiple folders within here. So first, if I wanted to have now to further reorganize them, have a folder for exterior walls, and then have a folder also for interior walls, and click OK. So this masonry block 200, if I want it to be there, I can just click on it, drag, place it on my exterior walls. So I want to create a new favorite here. So how do I do that? Just come, what's my interior wall going to be? 150 probably. Same, minus 600 from the top link. If it's structural bearing, that means there's going to be most probably a slab on top of it. I mean a beam on top of it, so the minus 600 mm. Come back here under walls, exterior walls, on walls. Also my folder disappeared, this folder that I had. So let me recreate the folder, call it interior walls. It tells me that name already exists. however I cannot see. So what could be the problem? Yeah, so let's just create another, call it int walls. Maybe that's just an error why we can't see the folder, probably because it's empty. So let me open that and create new favorite. What do we call it? Call it masonry block. Assign it dimension 150. Okay, so it instantly appears. Yeah, so as I continue to create my favorites, now this is a process that I want to use for all as I continue to design. So I'm building my standards, slowly building my standards. I know that for all my projects, I'm probably going to use the same kind of toilet. So that will cut across even in equipment and furniture and all that. So still the same thing. I would come here on favorites. Favorites, I don't see a folder for plumbing, so let me create one, call it plumbing, click OK, open it, create new favorite, call it WC, probably porcelain, if that's going to be the material. Yeah, and you see, it instantly creates. So because it's there, and materials and these favorites, they retain a lot of data from the elevation to the dimensions, also the layer, if any overrides on the surfaces, the contour pens that you're going to use, you can edit it however you want. So, and we see that ArchiCAD provides us a few of these favorites, but then we want to build our standards and use them as much as we do. So how I would advise you to go about this: get the project that you've done best, the best project that you've done, and then this work to now build your favorites. Select a material, select a wall, any element that you have, that which you repeatedly use. Open the settings of that element, go to favorites, create new favorite. If you need to organize them into folders, then do that. Okay, and so how can I sorry for that, how can I now reorganize, how can I manage my favorites well? So ArchiCAD gives us a palette for organizing our favorites. So to access that, go to Window, Palettes, and scroll down here, click on Favorites. So if I drag here, yeah, so I'm able to, it only gives me the ability to now start. For one, I can create folders. I cannot edit them. I can only create folders. I can only reorganize these favorites as I want to, and I can even delete those that I want to. So if I decide that I'm probably never going to use this, just delete it. But if I want to create new favorites, then I'd need to build the favorite within the element settings, the tool settings. So if it's wall tool, and you see that it's not just for modeling tools, you can also use them for documenting tools. You see this is a fill, this is a spline, this is a polyline, this is an arc, this is, and all these have, and see if I double click it, you see instantly there is a change that has reflected here. If I click this, now the info box updates to show the settings for the active favorites. So if it's a document, now if I wanted to edit this, if I feel that these are not the standards that I want, I'll just delete all of them that shipped with ArchiCAD, and then I'll start creating my favorites slowly. So where are favorites stored? Favorites will be stored within your libraries, within your ArchiCAD libraries. So when you create your libraries, if we have this ArchiCAD library, LCF, this one here, if we go down and open it, these different favorites will be found here, but I might decide to change them. So, in order to reuse favorites, now what do I do? I need now to save them within a template. So if you'd want to reuse favorites over and over again, so ArchiCAD is smart enough that it will save your favorites with the libraries that you mostly use. So if I use ArchiCAD library 26 and I've created my favorites, if I open my project using this same template or these same project settings, then I'm going to find my projects in the new one. So I won't dive right now into the process of creating a template because it goes deeper than just using favorites. That's something that I'd want us to look at on Friday as we conclude our 5-day masterclass. Yeah. So this has been short, I think, probably on purpose or without knowing it. Yeah, so that's how you create favorites.